Okay, so today we have Narmada Rao. She's an NLP trainer, um, the author of two books, Open Up and Open Up Close. And she's a psychologist and has eight eight years experience in working with NLP and training numerous people all over India and even outside. And her books are really fascinating. I realized that in the prologue, she talks about how less is better, how less is more powerful. And when I was reading and scrolling the book, they're basically one liners, okay, one line quotes written and thought by her, very powerfully delivered, very systematically thought about, and so thought provoking and so uh, I don't know, they really make a difference. When you read those quotes, they're not the usual quotes, okay? Not the positivity, the do good, be good kind of quotes. They're really thought provoking in the way that they're actually going to make you think about what you're doing, what you're not doing, and all about yourself. So, welcome and um, thank you for saying yes to this. So,
My
this,
pleasure. You forgot one introduction that I'm your classmate.
oh, of course, yes. She is my graduation friend, and it is so wonderful to connect to Narmada now because suddenly it's like all the old territories are coming back, and we still see through each other, and it is so wonderful.
It's
We
my
did
pleasure. Thank you
psychology
so much.
together. Yeah, we did psychology together in St. Francis in Hyderabad, and then we also did a amazing counseling course, which actually brought us together.
True.
Okay, so we're going to start with the first question that I always ask everybody: that what attracted you to NLP out of all so many things that psychology offers?
I was able to put it to use. So, which means I was able to actually break free from things that were there with me. While everything else, having done so many different things, allied subsets of psychology, found everything was very heavy on concepts. So I don't want to take names of things, but generally when you go for a self-development program, they come up with a lot of concepts. So it becomes a sort of intellectual romance. With NLP, what I
Mm-hmm.
figured was it's less of intellectual romance, it's more of integration. I saw the change
Mm-hmm.
happen during the program itself, not after. So if I was able
Right.
to integrate it with my life, make changes to my life for the better, then I thought, oh, this is really phenomenal because this is one thing that makes you be the change that you wish to see. It doesn't make you talk about it. It makes you do it, whatever you wish to do. So it's very powerful that way. So it's
Right.
progressive.
Hmm. Also, for a lot of us who do not really know what exactly NLP is, can you actually, simplify it and, maybe even talk about it in terms of application?
Absolutely. So NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. Neuro is thinking, linguistic is language, and programming is the strategies that you run within. So for a simple
Hmm.
example, if I ask you, what are you thinking
Hmm.
right now? You have an answer to that, yes?
Yes.
If I ask you, what are you thinking? You know what you're thinking. If I ask you, do you
Right.
know how you're thinking? Do you know how you're thinking?
Hmm. No.
That's usually not in our conscious. So, for example, if someone gets angry, I know you don't, but generally, let's say, for example, somebody gets angry
I
and,
do. I do, by the way, a lot.
oh, oh, that's news to me. But yeah, so imagine, so if I ask you,
Yeah.
why do you get angry? You will have 10 reasons why you get angry. And you
Right.
would have read lots of books, watched lots of videos which tell you how not to get angry, count 1 to 10, do this, meditate, all those things. And yet,
Right.
despite of knowing what you're doing, despite of knowing what you need to do, you're unable to travel the distance. That's because there is an unconscious program that is running behind which gets you to get angry. So what NLP does is it helps you make the unconscious conscious. So unless you know the strategy that is getting you angry in the first place, you won't be able to break free from it. It's like if you search in Google saying how to build confidence, Google will give the same answer for every single person, regardless of who you are, what you are. With NLP, the difference is each person is unique, which means I will not give the same answer to you and 10 other people. It will be very unique to you based on what you are doing, what you're not doing, and it'll be unique to the other person as well. That's the reason why it is simpler to absorb, simpler to implement. A recent program that we were running, one of our participants who came, she said, what's the difference between, some of these allied subsets of psychology and NLP? And I said, you'll find the answer. 3 days later, after the program, she comes and says, I actually understood. I knew everything when I was, learning all the other concepts. I was able to understand why I was doing what I was doing. But with NLP, I figured I was able to change what I'm doing, regardless of why I was doing something. Now I know how to change it, and I've changed it. So NLP makes change happen like that, because you're dealing with integration, conscious and unconscious. That's what makes it super powerful.
So the way I understand it is, like, for example, now if I'm somebody who gets angry, whatever, quickly or not quickly. So basically, NLP helps me understand my patterns of anger, and so when I want to change it in me, I'm able to observe the causes that are triggering me, or the causes that why I'm losing my power over some situation. So that helps
Not
me
necessarily
bring
the causes, not necessarily the causes, the unconscious strategies that are happening. So it's like, imagine a computer. There's a programming technique behind which helps you see what you see on the screen. Likewise, there's a programming technique that you have in your brain which helps you become what you become. So if I tell you a cause, let's say, for example, someone who finds it difficult to trust. Now I can tell you, you know what? I went through so many things in my life. Because of that, I've developed this thing that I don't trust people easily. Now I know why I'm doing it. I know the cause. I will not be able to change because my cause acts like a crutch. Even though I know I have to trust, because I have a story, I feel I have the right to be this way. So I'm limiting myself in that. With NLP, you're not going to limit. Even though you have a cause, you will learn how to be the hero of your life instead of playing the victim. Most of us, unfortunately and unconsciously, land up playing victims in our own stories. It is bad enough to play victim anywhere else, but in your own story, if you become the victim, then who's going to be the hero? There are no heroes. There'll only be villains. If I'm the victim, I'll only have villains in my stories. I will not have heroes. But if I'm the hero, I will have co-heroes, co-heroines, co-actors, everything else. If I play the victim, that's it.
Right. So I think this example was really good that you just mentioned that, suppose there was, something that bad happened in my life, and then, I'm holding on to that so hard that no, now I can't trust people, right? So let's take this forward. Now, suppose, you have to train somebody who is this, client who's having trust issues. So through NLP, like, just, in simple steps, if you can show us how it actually practically works, so that we can just understand that, okay, this is how we apply NLP to our life.
I'll give you actually my practical example. Why go too far? So,
okay.
So what happened was, I was a part of, the story where in Bombay 2005 floods, I was drowning, and I told you guys that, I was drowning in the floods for 6 hours, and I finally escaped.
Yeah.
So that was literally, I was very sure if there's one moment of certainty in my life, it was that I'm going to die any second in those 6 hours. And I lost all hope that I'm going to survive and stuff like that. But finally, when I did survive, I was like, wow. But I did not know what will happen next. Now I've survived the flood incident. Now what happened was I started having a phobia for water. If I saw heavy rain or sea or something, I will only get my toes wet, nothing beyond that, because I literally used to panic. So my first thing with NLP, when I went for my NLP master practitioner, there was a sea and there was a wave that came, and I accidentally slipped. It was a very small wave. I acted like as if there was tsunami, and I literally had tears in my eyes. Not because of the current wave, but because of my past baggage with water. So, thankfully my guru, my co-trainer, he was right next to me. And at that time I was just a delegate at that time. So he saw, and he was wondering why this level of reaction. Everybody's playing in water, and for a normal, simple wave which touched your feet, if you give a tsunami reaction, it is a little strange, right?
Yeah.
So then what he did was, there is a technique called timeline, where what you do is you go back into the past, revisit an incident that has happened, or revisit several incidents that would have happened, decode it in your brain in a way that it doesn't hurt you or create a negative reaction anymore. So it's not the past hurts you. It is the way you have stored the past. This sentence is the most powerful one. It is not the past that hurts you. It is the way you have stored your past. Imagine, along with me, there were thousands of people who were drowning that day. Some people chose reactions like mine to panic. Other people, the guy who saved me, he says every time there's floods, he's in the water trying to see who he needs to rescue. So it is not the flood
Hmm.
that's causing my panic, right? It is my
Right.
processing that's causing the panic. If I know how to reprogram it, I'm not going to come back to the present with past baggages. I'm going to come back with past gifts into the present. That's the
Right.
change. The programming techniques actually help you. So for me, what happened as a result of that, I learned swimming. I actually learned how to float in the sea after that, because I was able to
Wow.
let go of fear of it. And that's
Right.
huge for me. That's huge. So you can really let go of lots of past baggages, come back to the present with gifts from your past, because the past actually has no
Hmm.
power. Thinking
Right.
that gives the power to the past.
How interesting and very profound. Very similar to a lot of you know deep, intense healing work that even I do. Because so much is happening because of we are carrying other people's energy, we're carrying other people's trauma, we're carrying our past trauma, like childhood trauma, or not only trauma. It could be anger, it could be unresolved emotions. Like you said, storing the past in our own perspective, and how that becomes an issue and like a block. It doesn't let you move on in life. Yeah, very
And you know what's
interesting.
the most beautiful part of it? Most beautiful part of it is it usually just takes one session or one thing to unwind all of your pain.
Yeah,
Don't have to
right,
have multiple sessions. I don't usually see my clients on a repeat basis because there's no necessity for it. Once you learn it, once you've integrated your conscious and unconscious, now you don't need to come back to me. You don't have a dependency on me as a trainer. You're on your own because you
right.
know how to do it yourself. And that's the most
Wow.
beautiful thing, because I'm not seeing same clients repeatedly. I'm seeing different clients at different times.
Yeah,
That's
actually,
for
that's
me.
amazing. Yeah, wow. So
So
tell me, what are your, I mean, through NLP, like, what are the challenges that as a trainer, what you face? So basically, my question is like, when people are coming with, stagnant mindsets or with depression or with agony, stuff like that. So what is the most challenging part in making them see their own power
I
as
think
a trainer?
for me, the only thing that I find was sometimes people come, there's an unconscious resistance. There's a part of them that wants to change. There's a part of them that resists because they fear the unknown. They feel if I let go of
Right,
myself and all of this, I don't know what's going to happen. So they hold on very tight, and that's what hurts them even more. So just to get them to that point where they're ready for influence, that's the only part. You cross that path, and now it's my work's done there. I really don't have to do much more. But to get them to that part, sometimes it takes, one day, sometimes it takes 2 days. It
right,
depends on that, right? I think the important part is to understand that it is not my agenda to change somebody's life or destiny. I think it is the other person's interest to work on it. How do I create a compelling reason for them to step out of it? That is my this thing. So not to force
right,
or not to get angry or irritated or frustrated or carry their monkeys. A lot of times,
right,
imagine we go through some past incident and somebody comes with the same incident. Now, if I start thinking about my own past things, now that's it, I'm done. Because then I'll be sitting and thinking about myself, themselves, and then we'll all be like together feeling sad about it. So to
right,
not carry other people's monkeys, to not carry my own monkeys, to be able to be real time, figure out what needs to be done. I think the challenge is to just get people to that state of feeling safe enough to open up and learn. And that's
right.
also the most beautiful part of it, because when that happens, right, it's a very, very beautiful feeling when when you see the person drop the resistance and come to that point of it, and then they have gratitude for themselves, for life, for actually being open now, because they're able to see things
Right,
for what they are. They've removed that yellow lens which was clouding the perception until that point.
right. I think resistance is a very important and beautiful point that you brought forward because, we all find solace and comfort in, sticking to our hurts and pain and anger. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to explain that, but yes, I totally relate to that, because we find safety because it's a known zone. And suddenly coming out of that, block or that issue or that stagnancy, it's scary because suddenly you have to step into the new, like you said, fear of the unknown. So tell me,
Right.
how do you help them break or walk through the resistance? Like, what's the process that, as a trainer, what are the steps that you guys take or that you offer them?
So the most important thing is when somebody is resisting, right? The more you insist, the more they feel like resisting. Anytime, even with
Right,
kids, people don't do it,
right,
don't do it, don't do it. They want to do it more. So you shouldn't be directly attacking them or telling them you are resisting, you have to stop resisting. I think you just need to spot patterns. One thing that I like about NLP is it helps you give healthy terminologies where you can talk to people about their behaviors without attaching meanings or judgments to it. Usually the reason why I resist is because I fear you're going to judge me. So I'm going to close for influence. But the minute that fear is removed, you will automatically be open for it. So NLP gives you a ton of techniques which help you not to judge, not to brand people in a certain way. I'll give you a simple example. A psychologist, DSM-5, DSM-4, is all about, mental disorders, how to label them and stuff like that. Now, imagine I tell you, let's say I tell you I'm depressed. Now I'm going to tell you I'm depressed. I'm convinced it's an identity I've built for myself. I'll find it much tougher to get out of it than if I say I'm feeling sad right now. The difference is one is a behavior, one is an identity. If I tell myself I'm a short-tempered person, I will not be able to work on myself because I have already built it at a personality level trait. I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert, I'm a shy person, I'm a blah, blah, blah. I'm defining myself. Right. When I'm defining myself so much, I will obviously resist it because I have defined myself all my days like this. Now, suddenly you come and tell me something else, I will resist it, right? So the first thing is, can I first help you see that you are not these definitions that you've built over time, you're actually something more than it. Now, the minute you see the possibility of it, you're going to be like, oh, you define yourself only when you're in your coffin, not before. If you define yourself any time before you get into your coffin, that means you've killed yourself while you're still alive. So discover, don't define, right? The more you're ready to discover yourself, the more you will be able to find different ways and means of healing yourself. So for us, I think it gets very easy because we are not using terminologies to brand people. One thing that I love about NLP, it does not say this is right, this is wrong. It does not say this is good, this is bad. The only question that NLP asks is it working? Now imagine somebody is not trusting people and I tell them, oh, that's not correct. If you don't trust people, you'll be the one suffering, blah, 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 blah. I'll do all that stuff. They'll be like, yeah, but you don't know my story. They're going to hold on to it. Now imagine I tell them, oh, great, you have this. Is it working for you? Now, if I ask you, is it working for you? You'll be like, I've most often seen people go back and say, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Now you've come to the answer yourself. I'm not doing it, you're doing it yourself. And you say, now it's not working. Now what? The minute you have consciously understood, realized and accepted that it is not working, will you resist it? The reason why
logically, logically it's very tough.
You can't resist anything that you accept yourself. So the first point is coming to that acceptance. And the second thing is, I'm not telling you right and wrong, good and bad, and I'm not telling you you should do this, you shouldn't do that. You will find your ways. People do not change because they don't know how to change, not because they want it to be this. Nobody wakes up in the morning saying, I'm going to shout at my son 10 times today, or I'm going to yell at my so-and-so this many times a day. We don't wake up being, all of us wake up feeling wonderful, wanting to be wonderful, at least wanting to be, even if not feeling. Over the day, things take over. You can only do something at an unconscious level. Imagine you've been going from your office to your home in a certain route. It takes you 45 minutes full of traffic. Yeah. 10 years you've been going in that route. You continue going in that route. Now you discover another route which takes you 20 minutes, less of traffic, less of signals. What will you do?
Take the new route, obviously.
Exactly. People are not choosing the new route because they don't know how to get to the new route. They know the new destination. They don't know the route to it. If you help them understand the route, the resistance will automatically drop. I will not be afraid. My fear comes from not knowing the future. If I know how to do that, I will not have the fear. Imagine if you think, if you take, for example, prisoners, most of us think anyone who's coming out of jail after many years of serving in the jail as a prisoner, they might feel happy coming out. But you know what? They're actually filled with a lot of anxiety because they don't know how to step out and how to handle themselves and how to handle life because they've been used to this. So whether it is good or bad, the fact that you're used to something, that's your comfort zone. It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. But if you know how to get there, you will look forward to it. The reason why we are afraid is because we don't know what is there. But if you know what is there and how to get there, you'll not have fear anymore. That's simple.
So basically, NLP helps you see yourself better and work on your, old comfort programs and, work through it, like see that, it doesn't work for you, or, practically see through what's actually working for you and not working for you, and creates the willingness to step out of that old zone because it's not working for you. So,
Without judgment.
right, obviously, with inspiring and with simple techniques. I mean, the way NLP sounds to me, it's more like a practical, it's like those hacks, those practical hacks that you have. I mean, the way I sense it, it's not like, any therapy, or it's not like a heavyweight, stuff that psychology generally offers. It's more like a practical, those one-liners kind of things, that will just give you a eureka moment, and then you can slowly practice working on it, and like take it like a life habit. So so tell me, like, as a trainer now, obviously you have all the hacks, and you've been working with it. So what is that thing that NLP offers that keeps you self motivated all the time? Because most therapies or most psychology fields, I mean, they generally, it's tough to have that self work all the time, because, you have to constantly wake up and do mirror work, or you have to do affirmations, or you have to, because, okay, even if I know that, okay, this doesn't work for me, this works for me. But, there are times as human beings, you are not self motivated. You are going down the dungeon. You can see it, but you don't have that energy, and you don't have that direction to still pull yourself out of it, because you're done, you just don't feel like doing it all the time. So how does NLP help in those areas for those kind of people who are still aware, but they're not able to do it every day?
Sure. So, you know me that I'm more free spirited, right? I don't like anything that
Yeah,
chains me. So
right.
that's the thing that I love about NLP, because it's a free spirit. It's not something that tells you do da 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 da, stand on your head, move your hands like this. It doesn't give you all those things. Even in therapy, I'm not sitting and writing notes after notes and columns after columns and words after words. There are no jargons. There are nothing to complicate my life. So
Okay.
it becomes a way of your life. You're not literally, it's like you're breathing and you're breathing. That's about it. I mean, imagine if I'm getting angry. Just before I get angry, I know my breathing rate is changing. So now when I know my breathing rate is changing, next time before I get angry, I'm like, my breathing rate is changing. Let me just calmly get it back to normal before the other person senses anything else. Now, it's that simple. I'm not doing any hard work here. And it's a free flowing spirit. Like if you see Richard Bandler's videos, right? The founder of, one of the founders of NLP, he
Okay.
does magic in like minutes. Therapy in minutes, helping people in minutes. It doesn't even take 1 hour therapy. It's like 5 minutes. He gets a person to sit next to him, and suddenly this guy is depressed for 10 years and now he's laughing. He's laughing at his problem. He's laughing at his own self. And that's brilliant, right? Now, when I see it is all, like you said, quick hacks, simple hacks and all of that stuff, I don't have to do anything to be a part of it or do anything to not be a part of it. And I think that's what makes me motivated, because it's my life. I'm free to do whatever I want to do. If I goof up also, I know I've goofed up and I'm ready to learn from it without calling myself bad names or bad things. So I've had clients who say, I've written affirmations, I keep it under my pillow. I've asked, my family also to do it. And see, one thing we've forgotten, affirmations is only one part of it. Like that, there are many other laws that need to come together for you to get what you think manifested. Now, what happens with affirmations is I'm saying I'm fit and healthy, I'm fit and healthy, I'm fit and healthy, but I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
The only reason affirmation will work is if you can actually feel that as you say that. Most
Yeah.
people tell affirmations and believe the opposite of it. I'm going to have a great day. I'm going to have a great day. And inside they'll be fear. I don't know what that fellow is going to think of me. Now, how will your affirmation work? You're sending contradictory messages to the universe. You're sending fear on one side, you're sending affirmation on one side. Now, the universe has conflicting messages. It's like, what do I do with this person now? So, it's not the universe's problem, it's my confusion. So, if you remove all that confusion, right, life's actually very, very simple. We've complicated it here. Life can have complications, but it is not complicated. Sometimes life can have a few complications, but that does not mean life itself is complicated. It's a phase. You just got to see. And some days you don't feel like doing it. Be your best friend. It's okay. Why do you always have to wake up to be
Yeah.
he about everything? It's okay to
True.
not be okay, right? So to tell
Of
yourself
course.
that and to Imagine somebody cries. Most of us go and act like, you're crying, don't cry. You want hanky, you want tissue, you want water. We do all that. Now the other person feels like, I'm sorry I cried. We do so
Yeah.
much drama around crying that the other person feels, I'm sorry I cried. Why should crying be such a heart attack kind of a reaction? For a headache, you give a reaction of a heart
True.
attack. Now the other person actually feels, I'm so sorry for reacting. You're
Yeah.
not emotionally balanced. You're not mature. Since when did all this, terminology? I'm very sensitive. I'm very emotional. You brand yourself all this. What do you think you're going to grow up to be? You'll be more of that. So
Yeah.
it's just simplifying life, right? So I find it motivating because even if I'm angry, upset, or something, my bounce back time is fast. It's not that I don't get through all of that, but I bounce really quickly, and that's important. It's not falling. It's about not falling, but it's about rising up every time you fall. So if you can do that,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think culturally we make a huge fuss about a lot of tags and a lot of expressing emotions is one big huge human cry. Like, somebody lost temper or somebody's crying in public. We make a big deal about it culturally, and I think many cultures have this, not just in India or something like this. Yeah, true. So I think just simplifying life. Yeah, that's
look
because
at
I
social
think
media. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, true. No, the thing is, like working with some therapies, like I've worked with Louise Hay and Law of Attraction, and I have my own healing therapy. So, I mean, something I do realize is that, these things are heavy. Okay. I mean, okay, I love to practice therapy and, like have insights and, energy field, read energy fields and, all of that is wonderful. Those are good tools, but let's accept it that all this work is very heavy. So for me, always now maybe as experience is moving on, I mean, I feel I'm also emotionally trying to move on to things that are simpler. So NLP feels like that to me, like something simpler. It's not heavy. It's not
Not
tagging
at all.
you. It's not, because, okay, maybe not all therapies are tagging human beings, but then there is this part of, psychology which is, trying to find those compartments, where we can fit you so that we can treat you, so that we can
Yeah.
work on it. It's not like it doesn't serve you, but then somehow simpler things are more appealing. More people can come in that territory because when we're having heavyweight stuff, I realize that we can cater to only a certain kind of crowd, because
True.
that's not going to work with all kinds of people. So that's the reason why I'm trying to explore it in this context. Also, you like you and me were discussing just before the recording. So, tell me a little about your experience with working with depression, anxiety. Because of this COVID time, more and more people are coming out with mental health issues. So, how has your experience in NLP come out like overall?
So for me, like you were saying, right, the thing with NLP, it doesn't get heavy at any point in time. It's light. So even if I'm dealing with so many cases in a day, it's not going to bog me down at the end of it. I'm still going to be as relaxed as I was at the start of the day as well. Now, when it comes to
Okay.
dealing with others, here's the thing. People are unconsciously practicing things that are hurting them, unconsciously. Consciously,
Mm-hmm.
yes, at a level, I know I'm thinking like this and I know it's not right, but I'm doing it. But there is a linkage to it. There's a program software that's running, like I was talking about it, which they're not aware of. And the minute
Yeah.
they're aware of it, they can't continue on the same path another time. If you help them get to that point of seeing it for real, for what actually is happening versus what reality is, they're going to drop off that pattern just as quickly. It's rare that I have found somebody who resists so much that I have to see them a third time. It's rare that I have had to see it. But in those cases also, I just feel sometimes people are talking about problems not because they want a solution, but because they like talking about problems. Now, I'll tell you something. Imagine in your house, somebody falls ill. You're going to give them a lot of attention, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Somebody is
Yeah.
absolutely fine. We don't really pay much attention to them. Now, I
True.
fall sick because I'm not getting the kind of attention that I feel I should get or I want to get. So I fall sick so that there is some level of, and it's not, don't call it good or bad or judge it. It's not a conscious process. It's just that it is our ways of preserving our own self and getting things for ourselves at an unconscious level. It is not to brand or something. I mean, I'm getting into something, I fall ill. Most of physical ailments also also. Before you actually physically fall ill, there should have been a prolonged negative thought process that leads up to this point. The final manifestation of a prolonged negative thought process lands up in your body. If you read
Right.
Joseph Murphy's Power of Your Subconscious Mind or anything, they talk about how people are actually able to help themselves even through things like cancer by the healing power of the mind. So
Yeah.
nothing just happens out of magic. Majority, I'm not saying all physical illnesses, but majority of physical illnesses start here and end here, because mind and body are parts of the same system. So if you
Right.
know what are you thinking, imagine just before, anytime, I tell this to everybody, just before you fell ill, ask yourself what was going on in your mind. Just before you had the shoulder pain, 3 days before, up to 3 days before, find out what was going on in your head. You will know there was some element of problem thinking that was happening that led to this. If you're
Right.
aware of it, you can change it. So even when I'm working with people, sometimes accessing your mind becomes very difficult because mind is a monkey at times. So I help
Right.
access people's mind through the body.
Right.
So what I mean is, if I can't directly get to solving my brain or helping it calm down, I'm going to do something with my body that's going to reverse engineer what's happening in my brain. Say, for example, you get very angry. Okay. Next time when you
Okay.
get really angry, try speaking in a very soft volume and with a low speed. Simply try it.
Okay.
Okay. Either reduce the speed or the volume. If you can do both, do it. You see, you'll suddenly feel your intensity of anger is not as bad as it was. What have you done?
Mm.
You've used your body to influence your brain. So sometimes I can't directly tell people you can't think like that. No, they can't help. It's an automatic thought that's coming to their head. Like CBD says, it's an automatic thought. Now they don't know how to change that. But the more I tell them don't think of a monkey, they're going to think of a monkey. They're going to think of its brown tail. They're going to think of the monkey dance, and everything is going to happen. So I'm not going to talk about the monkey. I'm going to help you focus on something else that's going to reverse engineer what's happening in your brain. When you're doing this, it becomes so powerful that it almost looks like magic for the person who's experiencing it. They're like,
Okay.
suddenly within 5 seconds, they say, my brain feels clear suddenly. How does it feel? How did it happen? What did you do? You only did it. We didn't do anything. But it's just that we don't know some of these techniques, but it's supremely simple. You don't have to spend hours sitting with somebody to help them to get there. If you know how, you'll get it like this if the other person is ready. So
Right.
it's like, I don't know if I
True.
helped answer your question fully, though.
Yeah. Now, since you're talking about, body illness and how mind is such a key part of it. So, like you said that, you help them you take them back 3 days, and you help you focus on the body so that they can actually track their mind. So that's one of the techniques. So tell me, like you just mentioned that a lot of illnesses are, those deep illnesses like maybe cancer or something that has happened over prolonged time period. It's not happened overnight or like in 3 days or 6 days. Maybe like a shoulder pain or a headache, I can track back to 3 days. But so how, in case like I don't know how NLP works. So as a trainer, if you have clients who are actually having long-term illnesses and people who are willing to work on them, so how do you actually help them, figure out those long-term body illnesses? And have you had results or some examples or your own experiences, something that you can share?
Yeah, so we do have examples as well. The simple thing is, the beauty is patterns. Your entire life is patterns. Like pattern is anything that repeats. The
Right,
flowers on your dress is a pattern. The design on your
right.
wall is a pattern. Usually,
Hmm.
what we do is we're looking at the symptoms and we're trying to cure the symptoms. We don't have much luck with it. It doesn't
Right.
work that way. If you look at patterns, patterns speak volumes. Now, if I ask
Hmm.
you, okay, 3 days back, what you were thinking, it's easy, but something like cancer, I would have done something. Suddenly, how will I know about it? If I ask you at a level of tell me what were you thinking 10 years back, you won't know. But if you
Right.
look at what has been a significant pattern in you over the years,
Hmm.
have you had stories which usually repeat? Any repetitive stories, like say, for example, I'm someone who gets cheated very frequently, or I'm someone who people usually take for granted, or people usually don't trust me, or people usually call me this or call me that. Any repetitive pattern, which means anything that has repeated in your life, names and characters and people change, but the pattern is
Right.
consistent. That pattern is indicative of something for you. Now when this pattern is happening, what did you do about it? How did you quote it? Did you say, I don't know why people always take me for granted, I'm such a good person, I'm always there for everybody and I do so much, and at the end of it, this is what people do to me. Now what am I doing? I'm playing victim role and I'm
Self-pity.
taking
Yeah.
actions. Now I'm not going to find a way out of this. So what's my learning? I've learned not to trust anybody. This is not a learning. This is a regret. This is a negative way of getting to your learning. Now, the more you do this, the more you're likely to fall in, because you have developed a sense of mistrust or a sense of negativity towards people around you. And if I call myself good, I'm obviously calling you bad.
Right.
I am, rest of the world is bad, or others are good, I am very bad. Instead of good and bad, you just got to see, yeah, I helped this many people, this is what happened. What did I do that did not work eventually? Ask yourself, what did you do that did not work, without calling it good or bad. If
Right.
you do that, you will find, especially when you're dealing with diseases, right? When you ask these questions, people usually tend to get into, yeah, I've done this, it's really wrong on my part. And now they start feeling bad about themselves. The thing is, humans tend to think if you're wrong, it means you're bad. If you're right, which means you're good. They are not the same. Wrong does not equate to bad. Good does not, sorry, right does not equate to good. The
Right.
minute I say wrong is bad, I'm going to feel bad about myself for making a mistake. If I feel bad about myself, my body is going to go through things, chemical changes, and all of that, which is going to make me feel further into not okay states, manifest into physical illness. So, your capacity to make people look back at significant patterns in their life without feeling bad about them, that is key. Because it's very
Right.
easy when you look back at your past to come back with a lot of regret.
Right.
To come back from your past to present with learning instead of regret, now you've cracked the code. That's the art. If you know how to do that, you'll beautifully help people from where they are to where they need to be. So how do you look
Right.
at the past? How do you cope? Right? And not to call
Yeah.
yourself good and bad.
Right. But then, I feel life is so dynamic. For so many people, you cannot always, pinpoint on patterns or something. I mean, I feel illness and life like ever changing, ever evolving, ever growing, coming from, some corner of your life. Like sometimes we don't even know if it's really coming out, as patterns. We don't know if it's some held on grudge or maybe some pain or some, something that I might be carrying for my parents. Like it's very complicated, right? So in cases when you can't come and pin out, figure out the patterns with people, with clients, then what else is there to do? Because I think it's a complex journey here. I mean, the way I see it. For
Yeah, when you say
hardcore,
complex, I'm thinking because, yeah, so you're not doing the hard work as a therapist, you're not doing the entire efforts, you're not figuring out the patterns. Every
right,
person has the answer to their problems. How do
right.
you ask the right questions to help them get there? That's what simplifies
Hmm.
it. It becomes complex if I step into
Okay.
it. You have
Right.
to stay out of the process. The reason why things
Okay.
get complicated is because I put my head into it and my thinking into it. It will not make sense because each person knows their story better than I do. I need
Right.
to facilitate by asking the right questions so that they know how to get to the point from point A to point B. I'm not going to do it for them. I'm only going to help
Right.
them see for themselves. If I put my interpretation, that is where it becomes very complicated because I'll tell them, oh, so this is what you did. I think that's what, no, you don't know. My mother did this. And I said, oh, is that it? I think that's what, no, but you don't know. My father did. I will tell you 110 things and I'll make you go round and round in circles. Not because I want you
Right.
to go in circles, but just because I don't want to think that a solution is so simple that you can tell me in 5 minutes. I don't want you
True.
to tell me. I want to find it myself. When I find it myself, I'm going to feel, wow, Eureka, I found it myself.
Yeah.
Right? And
True.
imagine that
True.
it's not complicated. If you have to look back at your life, it will not be as complicated as if I have to look back at your life. Yes or no?
True. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
the
Makes
reason why,
sense.
yeah. The
Yeah.
only
Yeah. I
complication
think so.
is I put my head. I put my head out and I'm fine.
Right. Great. So tell us something fun from your book. I mean, like a message, something that, like I read some fun quotes, and I mean, what inspired you to actually come out with so many one-liners? Because, like if I have to think and write five or six, I'll be done for my life. I can't write so many. I mean, actually, see, because it's not like, one-liners will come out like so quickly. So share something for our audience, so that they also feel inspired to read your book, and something also that tells them that, life need not be like theories and books and so much to read about, they can just be simplified. It can be just simplified.
Absolutely. For me, when I was a kid, right, I used to have a friend of mine who used to, anytime I used to talk, he used to say that again, say that again. That's a very good sentence. So I think that guy was probably the first one who made me realize that I say certain sentences that really resonate. Then over the years, I think through growing up years, I've always had somebody come back and quote some sentence that I would have told them 5 years back, 6 years back. I have no memory of it whatsoever. But they tell me, Narmada, I remember you told me this sentence. I'm like, really? Oh, wow, lovely. And I used to scribble everywhere. I used to write it on a paper, eureka moment, write it on a paper and forget all about it. So
Right.
I actually started out writing a big book. I finished writing
Okay.
30, 40,000 words. And then I got stuck. I did not know how to edit it. I was going crazy. And that book, I just parked it aside for 2 years, 3 years. I didn't touch it. And I was supposed to publish it. And I didn't. I didn't get around to doing it. I was so frustrated with that whole process. I said, this is not working. I want to publish a book this year on Daddy's birth anniversary. And I am going to do it. What do I do? I said, what do I have ready? I looked at, all my social media posts or my scribblings and all. I found lots of one-liners. I said, why don't I make a book out of this? So I started collating all the lines that I've written over time. And I figured I already had like 100 something. I said, wow, this is good. And then I landed up adding more and more and more to it. Even in programs, right? If I speak a lot about something, people can imagine if I speak 1,000 words about something, at some point you're going to get into your own dream state and start thinking about things. If I give you one line and I leave you with it, you're going to think a lot more about it. And the funny part that everybody has been quoting my one-liners, I said, maybe people remember one line better than 10 lines. So I said, let's just do that.
Yeah.
So it came
Right.
about. First book happened. Because first book happened and it was received so well. I don't know if you remember this book, Illusions by Richard Bach.
Oh, absolutely.
It had these four lines on each page, and every time we
Yeah.
open, it speaks to you.
Yeah.
So when I was writing the first book, I just was thinking, anytime anybody opens any page of the book, I really hope they find their answers. And you won't believe, thousands of people have told me today that every time they open, it actually is like as if the book speaks to them and gives them that one sentence. Sometimes it looks like you're
Yes.
standing in front of me, holding me, Narmada, they say. So, it's fun. I mean, because
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sentences are not sugar coated. The sentences are just pretty much things that make you think differently, and they're going to force you to think differently without much of effort that way. So that's
Yeah.
how I got started on this. Then the second book happened because I had so many extra things to say, and now the third book. I have it ready with the quotes, but then I'm just thinking a lot of people are like, Narmada, write few more lines, don't write one lines anymore. So I'm toying with the idea of what to do. Yeah. So
Yeah. 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 The book is very you, completely you, but a very evolved you also is what I realized. Like some lines are, like you really, it's hard to accept that, someone has said that to you. Like when you read that from the book, you're like, it was difficult for me to accept it, inside. Like I was resisting it. So basically,
yeah.
it is provoking thought and provoking my truth. Okay. So very wonderfully said, I think. Okay, so let's give away a few lines. I mean, whatever that you remember, because it will be like a message that we're closing up with. Because NLP is like simple, it's fun, and it's inspiring. So what's the message that you want to have the audience to remember?
The thing with my brain is it generates 10,000 ideas every minute. It really does. So when you ask me one line, I'm like, okay, which part of which sentence should I pick up right now? That's a lot.
Okay, no problem. What we'll do is, okay, any message in this COVID time, that you'd like the audience to have, something that's more preserving, that's more hopeful, that's more, positive in terms of, coping with their lives and their issues.
Sure. I think one thing that I'd like to always tell people is know what you want. Most of us know what we don't want, and we'll end up getting exactly that tailor made for us because we were very clear about it, the specifications. So please be clear in terms of what you want for yourself, not what you don't want, and stop emphasizing on your weaknesses. Work with your strengths. If I tell somebody 10 times a day, stop doing that, stop being shy, stop being shy, stop being shy, they won't stop being shy, they become more shy. So don't
Right.
tell yourself what you don't want, don't tell others what they shouldn't want or should not be.
Right.
Use more words which encourage people to be what they already are and strengthen that aspect. So work with your strengths. I think all of us have things to improve. The fact that you and I are alive today, it shows that we both have learnings, and that's why we're still alive. The minute we've learned
True.
everything and realized everything, we'll be dead the next minute. So it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have flaws because you have to have a reason to be alive in life, right? So
Right.
celebrate the fact that you have what you have, and you know it's okay to have flaws. It's You're not meant to be a perfect piece, right? So
Right.
celebrate excellence. We imagine
Yeah.
you get your food, the food is good, you don't bother. The food is bad, you'll give critical feedback right away. And that's
True.
exactly how we've become as humans. So celebrate excellence more. Make sure you talk about the good things a lot more than you talk about the not okay things, because that's the only way you can help each other out. And the message that Ratan Tata gave out a few months back, I think he said, in these COVID times, it's very important for us to be kind to each other. And
Right.
it was really a great point for me. I don't know what, I don't remember the exact phrasing of the message, but it touched
Yeah.
me so much that every time I was writing or every time I was doing my YouTube videos, I was like, Narmada, is your message kind to
Yeah.
anyone who's reading it? The point is not to offend one segment of people and to win the other segment of people. It's just that there are no right and wrong people. There are people who make different choices. So can
Right.
I operate with kindness and
Hmm.
not want everybody to be clones of me, because then it'll be bad if I have too many clones of me. I mean, one itself is bad enough. You can't have too many of that. So I think to celebrate excellence the way it is and to be kind. I think that's all. For me, that's been a huge learning, to be kind. Life changes the minute I
Yeah.
change to that.
Great message, because seriously, it was again a one-liner that you elaborated. Yeah, focus on what you want and focus on your strengths and be kind. Seriously, like this I think is so significant, especially knowing what we want, because most of us really just know what we don't want. Like even for me, if suppose you asked me immediately what I want, I'm not clear with that, but I will 100% know what I don't want, because we've been working with life and we know as a result that this I don't want. So yeah, I think your message makes a lot of sense. So thank you so much for being here, sharing all your fun energy and your knowledge about NLP. And honestly, it is very, very inspiring. And I'm going to catch you quickly after this, and we're going to talk in length about how I can get some more training. So thank you guys
Sure.
for watching us, and thank you, Narmada, for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.